And welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Happy holidays to all of you. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is that you're celebrating. Happy holidays to each and yours. We are now geared up for the, is it the second half of the NHL season? I guess we could say that. We're not officially there in terms of, past that 41 game mark, but we are inching closer and closer. And I think, a lot of teams kind of have an idea of where they're at and where things will head moving forward. St. Louis is one of those teams that is kind of, it's not exactly clear where this team is going to finish, who they're going to be. I mean, they are obviously working towards trying to accomplish the ultimate goal, which is to get into the playoffs and then see what happens once you get there. But, it took them a little while, obviously, to establish who they are. I think they're still trying to work on that in terms of, truly having an identity to what they bring to the table game in and game out each and every night in the NHL. The 2 games in Florida, they didn't go the way they wanted them to go, but there were some positive signs. They followed it up with a nice victory in Detroit, which ended up being the last game behind the bench for head coach Derek Lalonde. He's now out with the Detroit Red Wings, and Todd McClellan is now behind the bench. McClellan, obviously a former guest here on the Cam Strick podcast. I got to know Derek Lalonde this past summer. He came in town for an event. It was great to hang out with him and his coaching staff. Bob Bugner was also on the coaching staff. He also got relieved of his duties. So, things are certainly changing in Detroit. I will say this, and listen, it could be viewed as controversy, although I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just disappointed that Joel Quenneville's not getting any opportunity whatsoever. And I know I've been on the Joel Quenneville train for quite a while, and some people may be listening to this and saying, hey, just move on. You don't have to talk about Joel all the time. But, man, I mean, with Stan Bowman back managing in the NHL, you look at how it went down. And, it's kind of like the JT Miller situation, where I think a lot of people jump to conclusions. In fact, I was on a Vancouver radio station not too long ago, and I made some comments about JT Miller in terms of, here's what I'm hearing. People are calling him brave for stepping away, but I don't think you can truly go there without knowing the information in terms of why he stepped away. Did he have a serious personal issue that he was trying to overcome? Was it a family issue? Was it a dependency issue? Did he have addiction issues? Was he going into the players' assistance program? And I think we learned right off the bat that he wasn't going into the players' assistance program. The team wasn't speaking on it. He's chosen not to speak on it since he came back. Although I think Quinn Hughes kind of shed some light on it when he spoke to the media not too long ago. And he said, well, I think the word is out there. It's pretty obvious, talking about maybe the rift between, Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. But I had said on the Vancouver radio station, and I said it on the Cam Strick podcast as well, that I hear that, he has a history and a reputation of being hard on his teammates. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it is what it is. That's his reputation, being hard on his teammates. The last game that he was with the Canucks before he stepped away, he was benched in that third period. So I said, you don't know if something went down between periods that led to the benching, and then he stepped away. But you can't start calling him a hero or saying that he's brave or saying that you hope other players follow in his footsteps and step away until you really have the information to know what he's dealing with. And once you have the information, you can come to your own conclusions. You can decide whatever you want to, however you want to feel, whatever emotions you're feeling at that time, go ahead and feel them. But until you have the information, how are you going to call the guy brave? I mean, how are you going to say that, this is great and other players should follow suit? I mean, that's where people just need to calm down. And it made me think about the Joel Quenneville situation a little bit. It's like, I don't think a lot of people know the information. I think they jump to conclusions and they just assume they know what happened and what took place in Chicago. And they're not willing to read any type of investigation or report and, draw their own conclusions as to what happened. Joel Quenneville should be coaching again in the National Hockey League. I hope he gets that chance. I hope a team out there hires him. Even if it's as a consultant, just bring him into the fold. Get him back working in the league. And, maybe that will lead to the potential of him getting back behind the bench and being a head coach. I hope it happens for Joel. But, I mean, again, with JT Miller, it's like, he doesn't even want to speak on it. And it's so obvious there's an internal issue, and the team probably asked him to step away. Now, whether he had to go to any type of classes or anything like that, we don't know. And we don't know what that conversation was like that led to him stepping away. But that's what happened. So this wasn't some type of heroic act based on the information we know right now. Now, things could certainly change. We could learn more information. But my point is, when I went on the Vancouver radio station, I made some comments about it and saying everyone just needs to chill out until you get the information. Then you can decide how heroic this was or how great this is and how brave he is and all that. They posted the clip on social media, and I mean, people were just taking shots left and right. I mean, like I was the most insensitive person on the face of this earth. But people, again, assuming that they know why he stepped away. And this was some type of mental illness, reset for him. And again, it still could be. We don't even know officially what the issue was. But I think it's safe to say that we kind of have an idea of why he stepped away. And again, people were just jumping to whatever conclusion that fit their narrative, and they were attacking me because of it. The station ended up taking the tweet down because it wasn't representing what I was saying at all. It was complete misrepresentation. The producer sent me a text apologizing, and he took it down. And now I joked with him recently. I'm like, hey, you can put it back up now, because I wasn't necessarily wrong. But people just had a lot of opinions and weighing in on that JT Miller situation. So I digress. We'll get away from that. But it's good to see him back playing again, and we'll see what happens with him and Vancouver moving forward. But Derek Lalonde is out. Todd McClellan, like I said, he's in. And I'm glad to see Todd McClellan back coaching. When are we going to start breaking down the Yzerman plan? I will say that you won't find any the national media or whatever. They don't want to touch it. The Yzerman plan. They don't want to go there. It worked in Tampa. Things were going well for him in Tampa. But since he's gotten to Detroit, we're just not seeing any type of significant progress. Bringing guys like Tarasenko into the mix. I mean, I thought these were unnecessary signings. Patrick Kane. I mean, listen, these are great players who have had great careers. They will go down in NHL history as being great players. Patrick Kane is going to be one of the best American-born players of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer, 3-time Stanley Cup winner. This guy is an absolute icon. He's a legend in NHL history. And Tarasenko had a number of great seasons here in St. Louis. Only got to 40 goals once. I always felt like he should have been a perennial 40-goal-plus player and should have careered it and gotten to 50 at some point in time with his ability to score and his ability to shoot the puck. But that never happened. But those were unnecessary signings, in my opinion, for Steve Yzerman based on where he's at as an organization. You already had a guy like David Perron there. He wanted to stay. You chose not to bring him back. And guess what? He goes to Ottawa. And what has happened now? Teams like Ottawa have surpassed the Detroit Red Wings in terms of their rebuild and where they're at. Ottawa may make the playoffs for all we know. I mean, they're winning games right now. You got, Brady Tkachuk out there talking to Team USA following their World Junior Tournament opening victory against Team Germany. And they're feeling good about themselves over there in Ottawa. So Detroit, you got a lot of work to do. And at some point, we're going to have to start questioning this Yzerman plan and what the Yzerman plan means moving forward, because I don't think we have that answer in terms of truly knowing. The Blues played tonight against Nashville. I had a chance to talk to Ryan O'Reilly for a long time this morning, Steven Stamkos for a while this morning as well. Great to catch up with them. They've got so many great leaders and personalities inside that dressing room. They won a couple of big games coming into the break against LA and Carolina. You just wonder if that's going to be able to springboard the Nashville Predators, and if they're going to, get closer to playing to the expectation level that many had for them coming into the season. Tonight in St. Louis, by the way, they're first of a 6-game road trip. So they're going to be on the road for a while. This road trip could either give them life and give them hope, or it could truly put a fork into any type of playoff aspirations they have, which may be impossible as it sits right now anyway, just based on the hole that they've dug for themselves. But I like talking to the players in the room, man. They got a lot of great veteran players. Sometimes you need more than that if you want to have success, man. It takes more than just great players who have great stats on the back of their hockey card, who have played a long time. You got to find that team chemistry. It's not always easy to do. Speaking of O'Reilly, by the way, big shout out to ROR, just hit 500 career assists. So we'll give him the old hockey sense shout out. Just got to 1,100 games as well, so he continues to chug along. I asked him, it's kind of talking about if he was ever going to go back to Toronto. That really wasn't in the mindset for him to go back there. I think he wanted a bigger role. Probably wants even a bigger role than he's getting right now in Nashville. But it's much like a St. Louis situation. I know St. Louis did make an effort to bring him back here, and obviously they couldn't come to an agreement with his contract. But they did try, and they ended up moving him and getting a first-round pick. But Toronto, a lot of great players, just wasn't a great fit for Ryan O'Reilly to go back there, and he thought maybe Nashville would be a good fit for him. And I thought it would be too. He got off to a great start last year. The team had that great run last year where they, obviously, showed some potential. They add some players this offseason. So looking forward to tonight's game. Shouldn't even be talking about tonight's game because of the fact that they haven't even played the game yet. So by the time many of you listen or watch this episode of Hockey Sense brought to you by First Community, the game will be over. You're going to know who won the game between St. Louis and Nashville. Buffalo comes to town Sunday. It's an afternoon affair. We got the World Juniors going on right now. Team USA look, really, really strong in their first game. The 10-4 winners over Germany. Canada looked good in their first game against Switzerland. I think there's room for improvement there, though. The Swiss had a number of chances. They just couldn't find a way to score. But I can't wait for that New Year's Eve clash between the Americans and Canada. That should always be a game played in this tournament. Every New Year's Eve should always have USA versus Canada. There's been a couple years where they got away from that. We should never see that again. They should always play on New Year's Eve. USA versus Canada. Talked to Cam Fowler for a while this morning, man. I mean, it's amazing how you just bring good players into the fold, how they can adapt so quickly, and how good they can be. He's playing over 22 minutes a night. I think he's played at least 23 minutes in 4 of the 6 games, and that includes his first game where he came over to Dallas to meet the team. Only played 17 minutes in his first game. He's been plus or even in every game that he's played except for one. He was plus 4 the other night against Detroit. Colton Parayko was also plus 4. They've proven to be a really, really strong defensive pair. It's allowed the Blues to kind of slot Ryan Suter down to the third pair. You've got Broberg, you've got Falk rounding out your top 4. Listen, the Blues have something good going now in terms of the defensive pairs. If they can get some balanced scoring and get more players coming to the scoring party, then they're going to have an opportunity. I thought that was a great start the other night with Dylan Holloway getting his first career hat trick. He needed that. He had gone 6 games before that without scoring a goal. He got hot when Monty first got here. Then he dried up a little bit. And now to see him score a hat trick was nice. He scores in all different ways. Dylan Holloway can really one-time the puck. That's an area of his game that I think is probably a little bit underrated. And you're going to see him get some more power play time with the number 1 unit tonight against Nashville. I think they like that power play option that he presents, because he can really shoot the puck. The Blues have gone like 80-something consecutive games without a power play goal from a defenseman. I mean, that is just unbelievable. It's been since last December since they got a power play goal from a defenseman. They don't hardly get any production from their back end on the power play, so they're going to have to find a way to correct that eventually. But talking to Cam Fowler, because I asked him, what made you decide to waive your no trade or no move, whatever it was, to come to St. Louis? Because I think he provided a list of like 4 teams that he would accept a trade to. And he said Troy Terry was a big part of it. Troy Terry, one of his best friends in Anaheim, has a really good relationship with Jim Montgomery. Spoke so highly of Monty that he was willing to take a chance and to come here. Figured there was plenty enough time in the season to get this thing going and get into the playoffs. It's been a while since Cam Fowler has played in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I thought that was interesting. He would have played his 1,000th game in Winnipeg if he were to stay in Anaheim. So the trade-off is he gets to play his 1,000th game at Wrigley Field in the Winter Classic. He's never played in a Winter Classic. He did play in a Stadium Series game several years ago. Dodgers and the Kings, or not Dodgers, but the Ducks and the Kings played at Dodger Stadium in L.A. So this will be a different experience. He's looking forward to that. But it was great to catch up with Cam Fowler. I really hadn't had a chance to really sit down and talk to him for a while like I was able to today. He's got a baby coming. He's got so much going on right now. You talk about Cam Fowler. Lots going on. But Monty was even saying this morning he didn't realize this guy was as good as he is. So Jamal Mayers coming in. We'll get into a little bit of the World Juniors. We'll talk about a lot of other things happening. Chicago's playing better since they've made the coaching change, which typically happens. See what things mean for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, A lot of people assumed that they were going to be left in the dust. Now it looks like they could make the playoffs. We need, Sidney Crosby in the Stanley Cup playoffs, just like we need Brady Tkachuk in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I want to see Brady play in a 7-game series, or at least a best-of-7 series. So let's get to Jamal Mayers. As always, Hockey Sense is brought to you by First Community. Skip a pay. First Community understands that life gets expensive this time of year. You probably spent a ton of money on Christmas. But don't regret it, man. Don't go through life having any regrets. It's nice to hang on to a little more of your money right now. That's where the Skip a Payment program allows you to skip your next car loan payment using their mobile online banking app. You need to be in good standing with your loan, and a processing fee does apply. But give yourself a break and skip your payment. First Community wants to make your life a little easier. We appreciate that, First Community. So do that and do that today. Also sign your son or daughter up for the Little Blues program. No better place and no better way to introduce your son or daughter to the game of ice hockey. Little Blues. Check out the Blues website or go to firstcommunity.com to get more information on Little Blues and to skip your, a payment on your auto loan. How nice would that be? Four Hands Brewing Company voted St. Louis's #1 brewing company. We love Four Hands, man. That Kirkwood location, get out there. If you haven't checked out the new location in Kirkwood, you need to do so. They've got all the year-round beers, the seasonal beers, all the seltzers. They've got the 1220 spirits. They've got the Withered Oak bourbon, if you're into that as well. So many options. Food from Peacemaker at the downtown location, 1220 South 8th Street. Food from Peacemaker at the Kirkwood location, and food from High Point at the Chesterfield location, where the kids can play in the grassy area outside. I mean, that's a great place for adults and kids to have equal amount of fun at the same time. So Four Hands Brewing Company. Proud sponsor. Get that mango lemonade, Cam and Strick hard seltzer. Get it today. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download the app. Download the app and check out all those incredible deals they have at Dirt Cheap. They call them deals, but they're more like steals. These deals are so good. Many of the locations have drive-thrus. Many of them have curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. You can do your shopping on the app. Don't sleep on their party supplies. I mean, they've got more going on with that party supplies, man. If you got New Year's parties, Valentine's Day's right around the corner. Listen, it doesn't stop. Dirt cheap, beer, wine, booze, all that type of stuff. But the party supplies are where it's at. And find the location nearest you. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. Lordo's Diamonds. Listen, get that special someone in your life, something special this holiday season. Are you looking to pop the question in time for New Year's? Listen, it doesn't matter if you have a $100,000 budget or a $500 budget. You walk into Lordo's Diamonds, Mike and Jimmy Lordo are going to treat you the exact same as the guy who's got the $100,000 budget. They won't treat you any differently. They are amazing, amazing people. I went there, of course, once again this year. Made my wife very happy. Got her a beautiful bracelet. Thanks to Pat over there helping me out. She does it every year. But Mike and Jimmy Lordo, the absolute best. Located right there in the heart of Ladue next to Truffles. 314-432-8008. That's the phone number. Give them a call. Call them today. Blue Note Roofing, man. David Novak is the absolute best when it comes to roofing. Get that free estimate and get it today. 920-5713. At 314-920-5713. That's the phone number for David Novak. Let him come out and take a look at your roof. Check out when you last had it done. A lot of these roofing companies, insurance won't pay for it if it's more than 10 years old. You may not have known that. So if you're coming up on 10 years, get your roof replaced now so your insurance company will go ahead and pay for it and find out if you need a new roof. Listen, Dave is going to give you the straight goods. Huge, huge hockey fan, huge Blues fan. He'll talk hockey with you. He's headed out to the Winter Classic. I'll be at the Winter Classic. Looking forward to that at Wrigley Field. But again, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak, Blue Note Roofing. Look for the big yellow truck with the blue notes all over it. You can't miss it. He is the absolute best in the business. Happy holidays to you, Dave, everybody around you, your close friends and family, and thank you for all the support you've given us here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Thank you to all our sponsors. All right, Jamal Mayers, he's going to join me next. We'll kick things around with Jammer on this edition of Hockey Sense. Aiden's in the house. We're live at our studios. Half Coast Studios, baby. Closing out 2024 in style. Don't go anywhere. All right, back here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Always great to have Jamal Mayers with us in studio. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Good to be here.
Did you get a new hat or a new hoodie for Christmas?
The hat is new. The hoodie is not new.
Mm-hmm.
Our good friend Crash self-promotion or promote. He's not paying you, so you don't even want to mention.
I can give Crash a shout. We're always allowed to say Crash's name on here. No Crash for a long time.
Yeah, he's so good. So good at what he does and so great with the kids. Works with all three of my kids, so nothing but great things to say. So
I'm reading a clip here right now, and I just talked about it in the first segment. And it says, don't question the Yzerman plan. But at some point, you're going to have to question the Yzerman plan. I mean, I mean, what's going on there in Detroit? They fire their coach. They bring in Todd McClellan, who you know.
Yes.
What will be one of the first things he does to try to, make his presence felt behind that bench and inside that dressing room?
Todd is probably, I've been very fortunate, played for some great coaches from starting with, Mike Keenan for a very short period of time, to Joel Quenneville, to Mike Kitchen, Andy Murray, up and down the gamut of amazing coaches,
Mm-hmm.
right? The one thing about Todd for me, and I don't know, part of it was probably my age
Mm-hmm.
when I got to San Jose. We had a really good team, but he was so thorough in his preparation, which was our preparation
Mm-hmm.
for each game. And the way that he built our systems, from defending to how we're going to defend in the neutral zone, to what we're going to do defending wise in the defensive zone, to our transition game offensively, to how we're going to create off the rush, to how we're going to create in zone, it all seemed to fit together. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, he is going to be very prepared. You're going to understand exactly how he wants to play in every zone.
Mm-hmm.
And situationally, everyone's going to be on the same page. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think that Trent Yanni will fix their penalty kill.
Okay.
And they're a team that I think is underachieved, but there certainly are some questions of, they've kind of been in this mode of, what are they? Are they veteran laden? Are they going with younger guys? Just looking at their roster, their fourth line is all guys under 23 years old. Like, shouldn't those guys be elevated at this point to, like, try them in the second hole, or try them in the first line, or try them in the third line? Like, they're 21, 22, 20. Like, they should be given an opportunity like other organizations are giving them. And I think if you look at the depth chart, their third line, which is veteran laden, should be the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
And see, so I think Todd will make some changes in that regard. And the biggest point to come out of it is, very smart hockey guy will make sure everybody's on the same page and everyone will be prepared going into every game.
Yeah. It's interesting the way you put that. I mean, they make unnecessary signings, in my opinion, Tarasenko being one of them. You talk about stunting the growth of younger players. You bring in a guy like Tarasenko, even though he was fine in Florida, you know what I mean? He went from being like a star player to becoming a role player, but, they probably needed him to produce above a role player level in Detroit, and I don't know if that's where he's at right now. And, I know you played with Patrick Kane, and everyone respects and loves Patrick Kane, but was that the best fit for him and for the team? Did that make the most sense? Like, I just would think Patrick Kane at this stage of his career, I don't know why he wouldn't want to go to a legit contending team, assuming he even had the option to do that. But, it just always seemed like kind of an odd fit to me too in Detroit. But
yeah, where they are, I think Patty's like a loyal person. And when he came back, when Detroit gave him the opportunity to come back, and he ended up performing at a point a game pace.
Yeah.
I think in his mind, he could have gone other places. And knowing him, I think he wanted to, like, stay where they believed in him and gave him an opportunity. In hindsight, for Red Wings, he's not the player statistically that he was last year. And so it probably would have been better for him to go somewhere, perhaps play a little bit less, maybe be a third line part.
Mm-hmm.
But their power play is number 7, and he has a lot to do with that.
What's the biggest drop-off, you think, in his game, in terms of when he was just completely dominating the league?
I think health has a lot to do with it, in the way he feels. He is some players are a feel kind of player, and in confidence. And I've never seen him not confident. But when you're not physically able to do the things you want to do, I think that what ends up happening is you put yourself in dangerous places too, where he was never in those places before because he was quick enough and smart enough. So I think when he's not physically able to do those things, he's missing. And I haven't evaluated and microscoped his game, but I'm thinking out loud here is that he's not able to make the plays as quick as he wants to do it, and physically able to be where he wants to be all the time.
Yeah. Macklin Cellebrini, who you've watched a lot of. I mean, I saw a graphic the other day of his point totals through the first 35 games or whatever it is that they're at. I mean, I think only maybe McDavid was higher. Like, I mean, he's higher than a lot of these. And maybe you saw the graphic. I don't want to speak on it because I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But Crosby was on this list and all these great, first overall picks and iconic names. And he was second on the list in terms of points. He's a point per game guy right now. I just wonder if he maintains what he's doing right now, he's going to really give this Michkov a run for his money for the Calder Trophy. He's the best rookie, in my opinion.
It's not even close. And like, I guess I've been watching a lot of his games, so I get to see it. He's number one in the league, or was about a week ago, in winning 50-50 battles, puck battles along the boards as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only that, he was in the top 3 with McKinnon and McDavid on
entries, right?
Into the offensive zone at 18.
And explain what that means.
So it means he's carrying the puck through the neutral zone into the offensive zone with possession.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is that so impressive though? Like,
why is that impressive? Because that's reserved for the best players in the league
to do
right?
that.
To be able to find the space and to be able to enter the offensive zone with the puck, you're going to create more.
Because what did you do when you crossed the blue line, or we're about to cross the blue line with the puck, right? Most guys.
Oh, most are self-chipping. Or you can 2-on-1 a guy at the blue line, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, but your leash for that was even smaller. But that's a difficult thing to do. Like, defensemen are not giving up the blue line easily.
Right.
Even on the 3-on-2.
And he's seen tough matchups, right?
It's getting tougher and tougher for him. He's the name you circle on the board when you're going to play them. He is unbelievably responsible defensively. And I've never seen an 18-year-old that responsible defensively.
Even Crosby, maybe.
I don't think he was this good defensively as Cellebrini is. He is always underneath the puck.
Taves.
Close.
Let me ask you this, because, Braden Shen, that's the comparison he used is, Jay Pandolfo, who was Celebrini's coach at BU in college. I remember talking to him last year during right around this time of the year. And I saw Cellebrini play up at Notre Dame and ran into Pandolfo and the whole BU contingency there. So then we had him on the podcast, and I asked him, who do you compare him to? And he said, listen, it sounds crazy. He's not a McDavid, but he's more like Crosby. But then talking to Braden Shen the other day, playing against San Jose, and he wouldn't stop pumping this guy's tires after the game, which is not something Braden Shen's going to do in a loss, is just talk about some 18-year-old kid on the other team. Most guys don't do that. You know what I mean? And I pulled him aside after the game and just said, what he said he reminds me of a young Jonathan Taves, but maybe better.
That's exactly what it is. He's as responsible as Johnny is, but more gifted offensively.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
And Taves put up great numbers.
Yeah, no slight to Taser, but
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
But I mean, this kid never wants to talk about himself, always about the team. Has the right mindset. And it's scary to me is that as responsible as he is defensively and as good as he is along the wall with pucks and as aggressive he is attacking the interior, meaning when he has the puck on the boards, his ability to get inside the dots quickly in the offensive zone is so elite. His shot is elite as well. It's scary to think about when he becomes a man, when he's got his man strength. He's 18.
Yeah. He's a young rookie too, right?
Right. He's a young, yes. I'm thinking when he's 23, when you get that extra
21,
10 pounds,
22, yeah.
he's already number one in pucks, taking pucks away. He hasn't.
Is he pretty solid?
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's fun to watch, man. He's a very likable player, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to see anything in his game. Even when Crosby came on board, a lot of people didn't like a lot of the extracurricular, going at it with the referees, always involved after the whistle. Veteran guys were chasing him around. I don't think this guy's getting under the skin of veteran guys and, like, bothering, where guys are just out to, like, ruin his night. You know what I mean?
Well, I think they're going to try.
It'll change, I guess.
I think that it started to shift a little bit in that when you look at the roster, I mean, let's be honest, there's very few players that are going to scare you besides Granlund, and he's at the top of the list.
Would you put him on Hockey Canada's, like, Olympic team next year? Would you give it strong consideration?
Yes. And the reason why is because, and this is no disrespect to a guy like Scheifele, is that Macklin can play on the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
He can play 12 minutes and check against Kopitar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could do that.
You give him that
He could
role
do that
or whatever,
job.
he could accept it and do it.
He could do that job. And so I think that he's not, I know what happens, we all do this. We get so excited by these young players when they come in about their offensive prowess that we think, oh, it's just going to take time for him to understand the game and be responsible defensively and be better on faceoffs. He walked into the league, his faceoffs were like 42% brutal, and he worked with Mike Ricci, and now he's been over 50%, over 55 to get himself up to 50% since then. Like, you find a reason for him to, like, something to work on, and he works on it and fixes it.
Yeah. And, I've asked a lot of players who, comparing him to Bedard, that's the natural comparison. Bedard was first overall the year before, and, obviously in his second season now, but there really isn't, right? I mean, and the people who are closest to him, even before he got drafted, were like, hey, this guy they thought he was even a next level for Bedard. And I'm not going to be critical of Bedard. Listen, he doesn't have a whole lot to play with there, and I don't know if you look at, San Jose of being a whole lot to play with there.
I think Macklin has a little bit more to play with, to be honest.
So Bedard doesn't have much to play with, and he's so good that he'll get hot at some point during the season. We saw him play a little bit better here recently anyway. But he's going to get, you can make yourself look really dumb by starting to pick his game apart. But I think it is fair to say that Cellebrini is probably a more complete player than Connor Bedard at this stage.
It's not even close. If that's the question, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Macklin is a way more complete player than Bedard is. Bedard's high end ceiling offensively greater. Absolutely. I would argue, and I'm certainly not a hockey expert, but I would argue that
you're not a hockey expert.
The hourglass is running out on Bedard being a centerman.
Ooh.
In my opinion.
He's a winger.
I think he's a winger. I think the game's shifted, right? Why can't he be what Panarin is as a winger? Why can't he be what Patrick Kane started to do to allow players to play the wing and still have the puck, but they're not. Don't have the responsibility.
So what's changed in terms of winger versus center? How people thought the game maybe 15, 20 years ago versus now?
Okay, good question. So I'd say back then, a while ago, the centerman was connected to the defenseman in the defensive zone, and you had a lot more responsibility than wingers did defensively. And with Bedard
down low and stuff.
Down low. And with Bedard being a smaller person, maybe not have the acumen or the desire to be as responsible defensively, he has, because of that, been a liability for a lot of times
inside
defensively.
His own end, yeah.
And so why not relieve him of that responsibility and put someone else at center so that he can be freed up to do other things? And I think Kaner was one of the first to play the wing like a center, because we used to define centers as they're going to transport the puck from the defensive zone through the neutral zone into the offensive zone.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen anymore.
Most creative players, most skilled players,
but like to have the
put
puck in the neutral. That's not the case anymore. You can have the puck. Doesn't matter what position you play. So you've seen Panarin do that. You've seen other players who play the wing but play more like a center in regard to how much they carry the puck through the neutral zone and have entries. And so my thought is like, there's no reason why you would continue this experiment if you combine how not good, like he's terrible at faceoffs, not responsible defensively. Why keep pushing him to be a center? Let him just be a winger. So that's how I see it. But, I guess you won't really tell until you maybe surround him with some better players. no offense to Donato and whoever else he's playing with.
Even the Donato's scoring goals and whatever.
Is that
But
really?
No, I know.
So you need him to be with some elite players.
Yeah.
To probably be able to evaluate that and make
Chicago has scored more since they made the coaching change, which is not unusual. We see that quite often. But their lineup is just so deficient. I don't know why they wouldn't protect the kid that they drafted first overall and try to bring in some more talent. I would think veteran players, like even coming into last offseason, established players would have interest in playing with him. There was so much hype surrounding him. I think guys would want to come play with him and play in a city like Chicago.
I would think so. I think they tried to do that perhaps with Teravainen. It was probably one of the pieces that they. I think you need more. I think you need a few more pieces like that.
They brought Bertuzzi on board and some of these guys, and but it's just not. It's not going to drive the team offensively. How do you look at this Winter Classic coming up? Did you ever play in an outdoor game?
I never got to play one.
Really?
No, never did.
I thought you played in one, maybe.
No, missed it.
Okay. So this is an interesting matchup. It's not the sexiest matchup, I guess, because you have two teams that are outside of the playoffs as it sits right now. But two rivals. It's at Wrigley Field, and they'll be on center stage come December 31st, New Year's Eve. It should be a good game, though, right?
It'll be awesome. I think that it's in a unique venue. I think they've only played there one other time. Yeah. Two storied franchises that have had their battles over the years for many years, and some really special and cool playoff series that you think of. I think that it is unfortunate that both teams aren't like playoff teams.
Yeah.
I think that what better time for the Blues to go into Chicago and beat them at Wrigley
and get 2 points, right?
Exactly.
I watched the game the other day. It was on Christmas Day. They had on NHL Network the 2009 Winter Classic at Wrigley, and it was Chicago versus Detroit. That Detroit team was the Chicago team was damn good too. And it was interesting watching Kane and Taves and Seabrook and Keith and all these guys when they were just entering that tier of being star players, right? I mean, Kane obviously is still young, and Taves, but they came in with a lot of hype. But Duncan Keith was not the player in 2009 that you looked at, in 2011, 2010, 12, whatever, where he just elevated himself into a premier player in the league. Same with Seabrook. And I think Cristobal Huey was the goalie. But that Detroit team, Jamal, like with a prime Datsuk, prime Lidstrom, prime Holmstrom,
Zetterberg,
who could still play. Zetterberg just dancing around guys. Like going up against that team. And Chicago was damn good too. They may have ended up winning the game. I didn't watch the whole game, but they were winning when I stopped watching. It was just amazing to watch the talent on the ice at one time. It was incredible hockey.
Yeah, those are some great teams and not fun to play against. But yeah, it made it for a few years. It seemed like the Red Wings had like an all-star team.
They did.
And I remember guys would joke around and say, "Don't go watch pregame skate at Joe Louis. You getting ready for your pregame skate, and you'd go out by the bench to watch, and like they're like, don't go watch that because you see, Hall.
And you'd be like, how the hell are we going to beat these guys?
Yeah. To Zetterberg to Lidstrom. It's like, don't go watch
Robitaille. I don't even think they had those guys yet in 2009.
But that was pretty crazy.
Or actually, Hully had retired by then.
Yeah,
because he retired in 2005, 2006. Incredible to watch. Were they hard to play against or no?
Well, they had the puck the whole time.
Yeah.
So it just made it difficult. So, yeah, I mean, we had a good run against them too, but, it was...
Hossa was on Detroit too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
He hadn't even come to Chicago yet.
Yeah, that's right.
You couldn't get the puck from him.
No, I remember a funny story with when I first got to Chicago, Mike Kitchen was running a drill in the corner, put the net in the corner and faced it the other way. We were doing one-on-one battles, kind of like training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Training camp had just finished. And he had insisted that I go against Hossa. And I'm not a weak guy, but I was like, okay, I'll go against Hossa, no problem. And it was like he was a grown man keeping the puck away from me, and I was like a 10-year-old.
You just couldn't get it from him.
I could not get the puck from him. His stick was so long.
Mm-hmm.
He's just so strong. And right when you think you'd get it, he'd have the soft enough hands to
Is Barkov a good comparison for him? Did you see that shift by Barkov in overtime against St. Louis?
Very similar, but Hossa, I have to think Hossa is stronger.
Really?
Yeah. Like he would, Yeah, you'd have to ask like some big, strong D that played against him about how difficult he was to handle physically.
Yeah.
Not his like skill set,
Yeah.
just even physically, like very unbelievably strong.
But Barkov had a shift in overtime against St. Louis where he just completely dominated, then drew the penalty, then scored the goal in overtime. And that's what you expect superstars to do. You know what I mean? Just in terms of take over a game. And he can do that. He's an incredible player who still doesn't get enough attention for me. Like, people all know he's great now. He's won a Stanley Cup, and he's been a great player for a long time. But still, when everyone talks about the elite superstars in the league, you're going to start with McDavid and Matthews and McKinnon and McCarr and Hughes and all these guys before you even mention McCarr or Barkov, where really his name should be mentioned, like probably within that top three, to be honest with you.
I think he kind of gets the same slight that perhaps Kopitar gets. And Kopitar would probably be, and this sounds terrible, is he possibly like not as good, right?
As who?
As Barkov, right? Maybe he's a step sideways or maybe just a little bit below, but, or maybe he's above him. I don't know. Like, but my point is,
won cups too.
My point is they both perhaps don't get as much respect as they should.
Because of where they play.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
They're both incredible players.
Yes.
And you don't see too many players like that who have that type of size and strength and skill.
And then you have to factor in the longevity of Kopitar continuing to produce offense.
That LA team's good, man.
Yeah.
No one even talks about them.
Yeah, I like their D. They have some really good young D.
That Kempe. He's an incredible player.
Remember how they thought he was a bust? Like
early on.
2 years in?
Yeah.
And like, be patient. Same thing when they did it right with the other young kid, 55.
Byfield?
Yeah, he's starting to come around.
Oh, yeah. He was a high pick, too.
Just not sure as a center.
It's amazing how a guy like Cam Fowler can come to St. Louis and just right off the bat, just elevate their overall team defense. You know, and you slide a guy like Ryan Suter down to the third pair, which is where they envisioned him when he got here. Broberg now back healthy. He and Falk now rounding out the top four. But it is interesting, Jamal. You know the Blues have gone 86 games now without a power play goal from a defenseman.
86?
Consecutive. No power play goals from a defenseman. They get no production from their back end on the power play.
Well, why don't you have just the big man?
Let him just go shoot.
Please.
I mean, we've been saying that for so long. Listen, there's deficiencies in his game that aren't relatable on the power play too, like because he's not a great facilitator of the puck.
He doesn't have to be. Shoot it.
Yeah. But the guy up top's got to be able to.
He doesn't have to be up.
But now you've got Robert Thomas up top. Yeah, just put him on the flank.
Yeah. I would be nervous.
He's not a great one-time guy, though.
Really?
Well, he's not a natural one-time guy. You know, like, but if you get him going downhill, man, I would not want to stand in front of that.
Well, it's a scary shot. His shot's lethal. Would not want to stand in front of that.
No. But Fowler has been so good, you know. I don't know if it's a bigger sign of maybe the deficiency the Blues had on defense in terms of the guys they were putting out there every single night, that you can just bring a guy like him, who's been a good player for a long time. He's played almost 1,000 games, but he could just come in right away and just stand out.
No, he's a tremendous skater.
Yeah.
Great defenseman. Offensively has the gifts, makes a great first pass. Doesn't jump off the page at you.
No.
But he's a smart guy. He's been playing a long time, who understands how to fit in and make it work. And I think he probably haven't even seen how good he really can be.
No, I think you're right. And he's been, you know, in a losing environment for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know, which can take a toll on you too. And then allow you not to appreciate everything that he does and where his game is at. Real quick, though, before we get out of here, Dylan Holloway is a guy who gets a hat trick last game. I mean, the Blues need more of that secondary scoring, right? It can't just be Kyrou and Thomas and Buchnevich. I mean, other guys have got to be somewhat consistent. Texier, as of this morning, it looks like he's not going to play tonight because of illness, but he's been playing much better as of late. And Kyrou, I think, is playing his best hockey of his career.
Yeah, and I think that it's amazing. Maybe we don't give enough credit to like Monty's skill, is his people skills.
100%. We talk about that today with Ryan O'Reilly, actually.
Okay, I just think that his ability to like, it doesn't even take much. It could just be skating around, morning skate. Hey, shoot the puck.
Yeah.
And then the weight goes off a kid's shoulders, like a young guy who can tell he has a great antenna for what they're feeling, and he probably has a list. You know, because us older guys, you know, I put him in the same category as me.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to these 4 guys this morning.
Yeah.
And he makes sure he goes and it's maybe while they're getting a coffee. Hey, been playing great last 2 games. Keep her going.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to jump by the D if they're going to block it. Like giving him little tips and pointers that just allow the player to play with confidence. And some guys are a little bit more emotionally needing that encouragement and that okay.
Yeah.
And I think he has a...
We saw that with Zachary Bolduc early on when he first got here.
Yeah.
And then he started shooting the puck and all of a sudden scoring goals.
Yes. And, that's a skill. That's a coaching skill that he has, that he's going to find his way to like weave in confidence and understanding that confidence is both ways, right?
You talk to some veteran players, Jamal, and they'll say, hey, some coaches, the best coaches are the ones that they don't throw everything at you at once. It's like you're struggling, so it's like, okay, we need to get better at X and Y to give ourselves a better chance and to play better. Instead of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, it's like everything. Now you're all of a sudden you don't even know, like you're just a robot out.
Yeah, you're paralyzed by the information.
It's like, let's take baby steps. Less is more. Let's improve this couple areas. Let's get some success and get some confidence, win some games, and then you can start implementing the other things that you want. But when you want to do it all at once, I just think it's a recipe for disaster for a lot of teams.
Well, and that takes self-control, right? Because he sees all of it as a coach. He sees all of it in probably 2 games and then has to go back to his staff and say, okay, we need to fix these 10 things.
Yeah.
But let's start with these 2.
It's interesting because the Blues' record at home hasn't been very good. And somebody asked Monty this morning, hey, are you talking to the team about like, hey, we got to be better at home? And he's like, yeah, I will, but like not tonight. We just got back from break and whatever. And like, we just need to have a good game tonight. And then we'll have some home games coming up and I'll address that with the team as we get into our home schedule. But just let's go out there and play tonight, play well, have a good game. And then, but sometimes it's like psychology, and just in terms of what you say and when you say it can matter,
Yeah, it takes patience and foresight. Looking ahead, that's a skill.
Yeah. All right. Who brought you to Hockey Sense, brought to you at First Community today?
Well, first of all, it's Barlino's. You think about what they've done, the 5 restaurants, I think they're going to continue to expand. And Barlino's South, Barlino's Osteria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris at the Docket, and of course, Barlino's Twin Oaks, the newest one. They forged many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family motto, cook good food, serve plenty. 50-plus years in business, only 2 places to dine, at home or at one of Barlino's family of restaurants.
And go to Dobbs.com.
That's right. You think about what Dobbs has been able to do. They keep expanding, we're at over 43 locations locally. They're offering winter tire deals on the best tire brands, including up to $270, $75 savings on new Goodyear tires, plus other money saver deals on new sets of Cooper, Continental, and BF Goodrich tires. Go to Dobbs.com for more details.
Mackenzie Blackwood, by the way, got a 5-year contract extension. I mean, that's kind of quick, isn't it?
Yeah, ching.
Just handing it over. I mean, he's a good goalie. You saw him play earlier in the year.
Yeah, he's good.
I mean, how do you know he's 5 years good?
I think once you evaluate and
Didn't they just do this?
I think you do this evaluation knowing that they would do this deal, right? So it's not like, I guess what I'm saying is this. The evaluation to trade for him included, are we willing to sign him to an extension? So it's not like the window isn't the last 3 weeks of performance.
Correct.
They made this deal
knowing they have
to sign him and commit to him. So that was made over a 2-month period, not the 2 weeks that we're seeing in front of us.
They were scouting him and watching him.
They're like, if we make this deal, we're signing him to an extension.
Correct.
So that was the plan all along.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
And I guess the deal is this. Is he an upgrade, which they thought was an upgrade from what they had?
Over Georgiev?
Or Georgiev, and like, okay, then it's time to move on. And this is moving that money into there. And I don't know what Georgiev was making, but I'm assuming the part that they're eating probably gets them to the number they were at with Georgiev.
Probably. Did they commit? Are they the ones that signed Kemper too? Did they sign Kemper?
No.
Washington did, I guess, in free agency. Maybe.
No, I think, didn't he go to like Seattle first? Or you went to
Washington, I thought. And then now he's in L.A.
Okay.
For Pierre-Luc Dubois. How about Patrick Laine, by the way? His comments about Columbus. And they were going to give him a video tribute, and they said, no, we're taking it down. We're not doing it. Yeah. I mean, I know he had some mental illness and stuff, but that whole organization went to bat for him. And now all of a sudden he's like saying some things that, whether it's true or not, like I could see maybe it could be true. I guess Columbus hasn't won in a long time. I just don't know. I don't know why you'd say that.
It's an unnecessary.
It's a shot.
It's an unnecessary.
You've had like one good week in Montreal. I'd settle down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they'll turn on you in 2 seconds too when you stop scoring.
Absolutely. Unnecessary shot, but maybe a little bit of lack of maturity there too.
Yeah. And I'm glad Werenski kind of made it known, that he didn't like it.
And he didn't make it out of the game.
No, he did not. And how much did that have to do with it? And Werenski even made a comment about that. He's like, well, you see what happens. He got hit a couple of times, and I don't think he finished the game. So
that's great.
Anyway. All right, good stuff, Jammer.
Oh, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, man.
Yes.
Are you heading up to the Winter Classic or no?
I am not.
No?
I am not. I've got to do some things for Leafs alumni, actually.
Okay.
For some diversity stuff. And then I'm going to meet our team in Chicago for the weekend.
Okay, so I saw, by the way, the 2012 Pee Wee or AAA Blues are going to the Pee Wee Quebec tournament. Yes. They got their coats yesterday, so that's always a big deal, right? It's to get the winter coats.
A winter coat with the Quebec patches on it. It's the 65th year of the tournament, which is pretty cool. We're actually playing our first game on the Saturday night against the local team.
You have the schedule already?
We got our first game set. So it was supposed to be Friday night, and then they changed it on us, which is
really.
We get there Wednesday. Now we don't play till Saturday. We got to get.
So that won't be at the Colisée then.
I think it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to make a game on Thursday and then practice Friday, and that's.
You're gonna have to join us from there, maybe. And
that'd
give
be
us an update
cool.
as to what's going on.
That'd be fun
out there. It's gonna be a great experience, and the best part is I was talking to Joe Vitale today, whose kid's on your team, and it's like the schedule, the whole tournament's over the Four Nations break. So no one has to, guys who work in the NHL schedule like yourself and Joey, you don't have to miss any work.
It's a great point. We'll be watching some awesome hockey, getting to enjoy it with the boys. And as you know, that tournament has a lot to do with the hockey, but it's more about the experience and the other stuff we'll do away from the rink, which will give them lifetime memories.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that. Did you ever play in it?
I wasn't good enough. I played in the AA Gatineau tournament. Never heard of it. I know. But, I wasn't at that level.
Well, and again, they live with families, right? So is he going to live it? So they won't stay at the hotel with you and
they will not be at the hotel. The boys will be billeting in pairs with the French. They speak English as well, but with a French family in Quebec.
And they take them to the rink and back and forth and everything? Or do you have to take them up?
Some families are different. Some with both parents work, then we'll have to take them for the day and they'll go back with the bill. There's some kind of dynamics like that with some of the families, but we're still working out those details. But yeah, it's pretty unique experience for the boys.
And the parents don't even have to take care of the kid at the hotel.
Well, that's what I hear. I hear it's a pretty good vacation for some of the parents.
I bet. How long are you there for?
12 days.
Really? Almost 2 weeks? Wow.
Almost 2 weeks.
And this is what the fundraiser comes in handy, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do it without
So what is what is that paying for? It pays for everything? The flights?
Yeah.
Hotels?
The hotel and flights and the dog sledding, all the excursions we'll do.
Really?
We'll be doing skating on a pond and all these different. I don't even have the list.
What's the weather
things
that
we're
going to be doing? Check that out.
I hope it's freezing cold.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And chances are it will be. All right. Well, best of luck to you, man. We'll be following along and passing along whatever.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. All right. We'll come back and wrap things up on this edition of Hockey Sense. Don't go anywhere. All right. Back here in Hockey Sense. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jammer. Always great to have Jammer in. And obviously the Blues play tonight, so we won't be getting into the game coming up against the Nashville Predators. It's the Shen Bowl. Yeah, Luke versus Braden. So that's always fun. You don't get to see that too often, but again. We'll have that tonight, and then the Blues play against Buffalo Sunday. It's an afternoon game, 2 o'clock, so bring the kids on down to the Enterprise Center for an afternoon affair before the Blues head out to Chicago for the Winter Classic, which will be a lot of fun. I'll be out there. I hope it's not too cold. I know you can say, Jammer's talking about how he wants it to be freezing cold in Quebec. I don't want it to be freezing cold in Chicago. I just want to watch the game and not be super cold. You know what I mean? And I'm bringing my kid with me, too, who's flying to Toronto from Chicago, so I don't need him getting sick at the game before he goes and plays in a tournament in Toronto, where it's going to be cold there. First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. They've got branches all over. It's a great time to buy a home now also. And with winter coming, there's this belief that you should only try to buy a new home in the spring, but that's not the truth. That's not the case. It's never been the case. So don't believe that. Now's a great time to buy. If you've been looking at homes, wanting to make a move but holding off because of higher rates, don't wait any longer. First Community, they offer the 30-year and 15-year fixed rate loans plus an affordable alternative loan that's even more affordable. You never pay a fee for the application, processing, or underwriting ever. You'll never pay a fee for that. First Community also offers a jumbo loan and a loan specifically for the first-time home buyer. So you owe it to yourself to learn more, and you can do it today at firstcommunity.com. Arco Construction, taking St. Louis hockey to the next level, one ice rink at a time. I mean, they built that beautiful rink out there at Centene Community Ice Center, the two-sheet facility out there in Chesterfield. They bring fun to St. Louis. They built Topgolf, Putt Shack. They also built the Shark Tank, one of the most underrated venues here in St. Louis. They built that too. So again, John Comlos, Jeff Cook, everybody out there at Arco just flat out getting it done with everything you're doing over there with Arco Construction. So we appreciate everything you're doing. Four Hands Brewing Company, Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, everybody. We appreciate your support for what you've given us here in 2024, and we will continue to move along and make it happen in 2025. We love being here at the Half Coast Studios as well, with Aiden and Alex and Maddie, everybody who takes great care of us and helping us pass this along and getting it up on YouTube and all the different podcast platforms for you to check out. So again, follow us on all the platforms, subscribe today, and we appreciate all your support. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. We'll do it again next week. Happy New Year, everybody.